Welcome back to the Training Babble podcast. I'm your host, Dave Schell, and we are back for another exciting episode of Training Babble. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Alex Larson of Alex Larson and Nutrition and the Endurance Eats podcast. Alex, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be back.
Well, I'm so happy you're here. We talked just over a year ago, and at the time we talked about healthy weight loss for endurance athletes. It's always a popular topic, and especially this time of year.
Still a valid conversation to have, yes.
Yeah, and things are changing quickly. We were just chatting offline about you doing your first Ironman in 2014, and just like how much has changed since then as far as what the fueling recommendations are.
Wild. I was so underfueled back then. Now that I look back on it, I'm like, dang it. And then I've had people ask like, oh, are you going to do another Ironman? I'm like, the look on my husband's face, if I were to suggest that, would say not for a while. I need my kids a little older. They're still pretty young. But it's definitely a thought in my head of like, yeah, I left a lot on the table there performance-wise because at the time I thought I was fueling adequately, but now we know that for these definitely longer distance events and when you're putting out a lot of watts and effort, you really need to fuel that. And so back then, the recommendation was 30 to 60 grams of carb per hour.
Yeah. And
now we're looking at, for sure, 60 to 90, if not even going above 90, depending on the level of athlete. So, it's interesting thinking back. And I think during that time in my day-to-day, I lived off of like strawberry Nesquik and cheese sticks because I was, training all the time and busy. And that day-to-day nutrition has become so important for the endurance athlete lifestyle. So that also would be a big shift too, is really honing in on my day-to-day nutrition to support that recovery.
Yeah. And so I think I tell this to my athletes all the time where it's like, our experiment is always very complicated because we're also like the variables are constantly changing. And so you did that in 2014. So like 12 years ago, right? And we're a lot younger. And so it's like the things we could get away with back then, we can't, like it just becomes more important.
But we're more wiser now. And I feel like we even have better, like discipline would be a good word. Like we're more, I don't know. We just are smarter at training and listening to our body, and because we can't get away with, poor nutrition and poor training habits. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with aging because I've seen some pretty phenomenal athletes and cyclists in their 40s, 50s, and 60s that are just crushing it still.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with that 100%. I think kind of what I see is you have to be more purposeful and strategic.
Yes.
And so it's not fueling with whatever, staying up till midnight drinking the night before and then going and doing a race hungover. It just doesn't work anymore. And so you have to be like much more deliberate with what you're doing. And it's not just like training, like just doing whatever you want. It's like being very specific so you can take advantage of the time you have.
Yeah, I feel like I'm still some days mourning the loss of my metabolism from my mid-20s.
Absolutely. And so we just kind of touched on this, and you started off as a triathlete and did Ironman Wisconsin back in 2014. Now you're focusing primarily on gravel events. And so I'm just curious, one, like, has your fueling strategy changed from triathlon to gravel? And that gravel is a bit more dynamic, I would say. Whereas triathlon, a lot of times we're just like trying to sit at the same power and just like pace it as well as we can. Like, has that changed with gravel? And then two, like, what else has changed as more information's come out and how that impacted your fueling strategy?
Yeah, I feel like, well, I'm also in a very different season of life than it was 12 years ago. Like I was let's see, the year I did Ironman Wisconsin, I also like got married, changed jobs, and moved. So I had like a lot going on. But now I've got 3 young kids and a business that I run. So life is very different. So I do have to be extra intentional about my eating, because otherwise it would be really easy for me to hardly eat anything at all during the day and kind of fly by the seat of my pants. So that's very different. Yeah. But gravel has been an interesting journey. And the thing and this isn't even nutrition related, but with gravel, I'm learning like how to ride more on technical terrain. Yes. I don't come from a mountain bike background, so I'm learning that gravel is a very wide spectrum of of gravel terrain. Right. So I like to go fast on a bike. And so whenever we get on an area where I have to really slow down, I just get annoyed. So I've learned now I have to cherry pick my races to be a little bit more easier gravel because I just don't have the skills and confidence yet to go over some of the rougher stuff. So there's the learning curve there, but I tend to be more of like a sprinter in general. Like I can't sit in really high power for long periods of time. I just have never been that type of athlete. I'm working on it, but I tend to be a little bit more of I don't mind attacking and then like sitting behind some wheels and kind of recovering and then being able to attack again. That's totally my strength. Or more rollers. I'm a pretty good climber. So just kind of navigating that, but also kind of learning the course to figure out where it would be ideal for me to try and fuel so that other times of the race I can't. Yes. Whereas in triathlon, you're on pavement, like you don't draft, like you can fuel anytime for the most part, unless you're on like a really steep descent. So that's been a little tricky of figuring out the best route to go. I've tried a hydration pack, but if I put too much fluids in it, it hurts my back, like a couple hours in, where like I can do about 1 liter and I don't get any back pain from that. But if I fill it up like 2 liters, I get really bad lower back pain just from the weight of that on there. So I have to kind of do both bottles and a hydration pack. And then I usually do higher carb gels because then I don't have to take as many and deal with as many wrappers. So I'll do like the 50-gram carbs fuel gels. I can get those down pretty easily. Or if I need a little change of pace, I'll do a 40-gram Morton gel, which I know is like $4 or $5, but I usually save those for just the races. And it's like a special treat. So just that for sure has been a little bit different just because I'm fueling more and I'm trying to get in a lot higher carbs. I also know that I'm a salty sweater. I did not know that 12 years ago. So having to up the electrolytes for sure, especially if it's a really hot, humid race. And then the other thing that I especially noticed later on last year is my first year kind of racing and doing, I do usually like 40 to 60 mile races. So I'm out there for, 3 hours-ish. And being able to take in fuel when my brain says, no, I don't want that, is a skill. It really is a skill. And I have not used that skill for quite a few years. So now I'm having to relearn it. So that's something I've been practicing now that I've been more aware of it, to just... One of my body's like, nope, I don't want this. And I'm like, no, I got to get this down. And I just have to practice those like mental gymnastics a little bit more. So that's another thing I'm working on right now, is taking in fuel even when I don't want to. And especially like fluids too. When it's easy to get in the zone. And even if my alarm is beeping like time to hydrate, I have to take it no matter what. It's a non-negotiable, even if my body's like, you don't want to.
Right. It's funny. Like I always tell my athletes, like I kind of recommend doing things on the quarter hour so that when you get brain dead and you can't think straight, anytime you look at your computer, you just know if it's 15, 30, 45, or 60, you need to be doing something. Yeah. But which race did I do? I think it was Unbound or something big. And I like had the map up without the time. And it's crazy how quickly 2 hours go by.
Yes.
And so all of a sudden I like flipped to the timer and it's like I hadn't eaten in a couple hours because I was just like so in the race. And so that's like such a good point where it's like just being on that schedule because our body's busy doing other things and maybe you aren't getting those cues to drink and eat.
Yeah. And I was talking with my team about this kind of towards the end of the year, just some learnings that I had or thoughts. And my approach, I think, this year for races is I'm going to front load the crap out of my races. So basically, I usually always take that 50-gram gel like about 10, 15 minutes before the start. But I'm probably going to take another one like 20 minutes in and like try that first hour, really front load my fueling, because I've got a pretty good stomach, especially early on in the race when my heart rate is still hasn't like peaked yet, where I could take in a little bit more and I'm not super fatigued, to get really ahead of it. And then I can just kind of supplement a little bit less later on in the race when I'm trying to, attack and get myself in position to get up there. You know what I mean? Like that's where I had this thought. I'm like, you know what? I wonder, while I'm still mentally like aware, is to get ahead of the fuel so that when I'm later on in the race focusing on some other things, I can get away with not fueling. You know what I mean? That was my thought too.
Yeah, it's such an interesting, like I've had this conversation where it's like this interesting math problem or strategy problem, because it usually starts pretty hot. I mean, like intensity wise. So it's like you're going a bit harder, RPE's lower, you're excited. So that first like hour, you're probably going pretty hard. And so all that blood's going to your muscles and cooling you off. And so like you probably don't want to eat anything too complicated.
Yeah.
But your energy levels are higher, or your needs are higher. And then as you get tired and intensity comes down and like all these other things, then you need less. And so like always trying to come up with a strategy for like, what do you eat and when, and how does that help you, like, so that you're not getting GI distress or bonking. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it'll be kind of interesting. And I'll probably adjust it based off of the race too and what's going on. But that was kind of my initial thought. It's like, I know that everyone kind of like in the beginning of the races, a lot of times they're like going out hard, trying to get into position, but I kind of like to sit a little bit back to be able to attack later on when people are kind of dying.
Yes,
I did that for a shorter race, last June, and I just sat behind these two older guys. I could tell like they had some gray hair, and they're not going to care if some young gal is going to be sitting behind them. And they were right around my power and pace, and we passed so many people. I bet we passed 15 women. Like I was counting them. I was like, all right, like I feel like I'm getting up there. I'm not seeing as many women anymore, and I ended up second.
Nice.
Some 15-year-old junior elite gal was so 2 minutes ahead of me, and I was like, dang it. And so, yeah, like I picked him off. And I maintained power really nicely, but I definitely started off a little conservative.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's so many different strategies, and that's the one I tend to prefer is catch people later on in the race instead of burning too many matches early on.
Well, yeah, it's like a much better mental position to be in, like passing people than getting past late in the race.
100%.
And it's hard to watch people right away from you because you're like, oh, they must know something I don't.
Yes.
But 9 times out of 10, you're going to reel them back in once people start dropping in the back half of the race.
Yeah, especially if you can find some wheels to sit behind, not for like, especially with women, like the guys don't care if you pull or not. Like they're not racing you. So that's kind of been my strategy where I'm like, oh, I wonder if I should just like go a little conservative the first hour, fuel the crap out of it, and then just start passing people.
Yeah.
Strategically. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great strategy.
So anyways, we'll see how it goes. I've got a few races. I'll be at Unbound doing the 50. So yeah, I mean, it's all a learning for me. I'm so new into this sport, and especially, like I said, the technical terrain and having the comfort on some of the looser, chunkier, when there's a really big rocks, then I really definitely like panic a little bit. So I just have to, that's one of my main goals, is just building my confidence with that.
Well, and I think, I mean, not to get too far off topic here, but I think like that's why I focus on off-road cycling, is I think it's so exciting where I did triathlon for a long time too. And it just got to this point where it's like, it's just kind of physiology. And you knew, depending on who showed up, you could say like, okay, they're first, he's second, providing no mechanicals or nutrition thing. But like gravel, there's different courses and some suit different riders better than others. And
there's
so it's
a
fun
lot more variables for sure.
Yeah. And like skills like come along a lot quicker than physiology.
Yeah.
And
that's what holds me back is definitely my bike skills. So it's top of the list to work on.
But there's so much room to grow.
There's so much room. Yeah. Like that's what's so exciting about it. It's like, I got the legs and the power. Like I know I can do that, but some of those other ways that I can earn some free speed is definitely on my to-do list.
Awesome. I love it. So now let's talk about, we always say weight loss, but really what people are more interested in. And I think this is something I think we should just reframe in general is like, stop saying weight loss because it's like the scale doesn't tell the whole picture, you know?
Yeah.
So let's talk about body composition and like how to improve it coming off the holidays and off winter. Like, what are some easy strategies we can implement to start to see some of that positive change?
Yes. And the objective is always, when we say body composition, maintain muscle, if not put on some muscle and strength, and see your weight come down, having it be primarily excess body fat. And we don't want to do that in a way that is going to impact your performance. That's the number one thing that I hear from athletes that are like, I tried losing some weight on my own and my energy levels and went down. I couldn't complete my workouts. I wasn't recovering from them. And I was hungry all the time. Like, yep. Okay. That sounds pretty classic. So let's talk about how we can shift that. And there's definitely a lot of trends that I see working with our athletes. Couple that come to mind that are the most important is one, and I've said that this on multiple different podcasts, you do not diet on the bike. You do not diet like in your workouts. So many people associate all of these carbs and sugars that we're taking in during our training as the reason why people are gaining weight or not being able to lose weight. And that's not true. So that energy you're taking in, it's going straight to your muscles. It's getting used as fuel. It is supporting performance in your training. It is preventing you from going into a major calorie deficit the rest of the day. And when you're not going into this major calorie deficit the rest of the day, you actually have energy to be a productive human. You are going to be in a better mood. You're going to be happier. You're not going to be yelling at your kids. You're not going to have these sweets cravings or epic hunger binges in the evening where you're raccooning in your kitchen pantry at 9:00 at night. Like those types of things, if you're experiencing them, one of the first places I look at is how you're feeling around the workouts, because it's going to come back and bite you in the butt if you're underfueling them. So make sure that you're having something before your workout. You're not going into it fasted. If it's a big, long workout or a hard effort, up the carbs before that workout. It's amazing what happens when you go into a workout well fueled. Then even if that workout is 60 minutes long and maybe it's like a VO2 max effort and it's just going to be a beast. Sometimes I will take 20, 30 grams of carbs after that first set so that it's kicking in for that final set when I really need it and I want to nail that last final set, even if it's just 60 minutes long. Because again, that energy is going to suit you well in nailing the workout, which then triggers those like physiological adaptations that you want. In later on in the day, your body's working on getting stronger, more efficient for that workout in the future. And then you can hone in on your day-to-day nutrition after that workout's done. And you're going to not be so behind on nutrition that you're just battling your willpower and your epic appetite.
Let's just kind of put this in perspective, because that's something I hear from athletes all the time too, is they don't want to fuel during the workouts. But if we look at your whole day and how many calories you're burning the whole day and how much you're eating and everything, like, will you put into perspective like that 1 to 3 hours on the bike and how that compares to like the rest of the day? And so like, if you're not fueling for that, like, how does that impact you?
Yeah. So if you think of a workout, a lot of people like, oh, I only burned like 500 calories in my workout. I'm like, 500 calories, but you only took in like 120, 150. You know what I mean? You're going, and then so many athletes go into their workouts thinking like, what's the least amount of fuel I can get away with in this workout? And I'm like, that's the wrong way to approach it mindset wise. I need you to think of, what do I need to do to smash this workout, to finish and feel like, oh, I just crushed that. Like, I think that's such a confidence booster for people to be able to consistently nail their workouts, where it's going to be hard, but it's still fairly doable. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to have to focus. It's going to be challenging, but you're going to have the fuel available there to do it. So many people think, oh, Alex, what's the least amount I can get away with? I'm like, why are you thinking that way? Like, no, let's think about what you have to do to optimize that performance. And if you are unsure, then lean into the carbs just a little bit more for me. Because not only are you going to get a better performance, but you're also going to be able to train your gut better. So for these athletes that are starting to push the limits and like increase watts, increase their FTP, and have to do that for, you know, a 2-3 hour, 6 hour, however long maybe they're doing Unbound 200 and they're going to be out there all day. That's a lot of fuel to like be able to put all that power out for that many hours. So that's where we start seeing athletes need to go above and beyond 90 grams of carb per hour. And the only way you're going to be able to do that and tolerate that is if you practice that consistently in your training. So like, I had a triathlete last fall who came in, had that mindset of like, what's the least amount I can get away with? And then we started fueling her bike rides better. And then she found her brick runs were going way better. She did a 70.3 at 90 grams of carb per hour. And she was reflecting back on the race. It was like one of her best races she had done. She's like, I still kind of did the run. I started the run. I felt almost a little bit hungry. I was like, oh, I think we can go above 90. I was like, let's in your training try 100, see how that feels. I was like, I'd like to try your next 70.3 at 100 grams of carb an hour on the bike. And she's like, okay. So we tried it. And there was one day where she accidentally did 110. And she's like, yeah, I think it was too much. Just felt like a little too much. I'm like, okay. I was like, well, then we know 100 is probably our sweet spot for now. And so that next race she ended up podium. She hadn't been on the podium yet, and she'd always wanted to. And she got third on the podium. And was just so excited. And I said, hey, down the road here, after we're done working, if you get to the point where 100 is starting to feel like it's not quite enough because you're just progressing in your training and putting out more power consistently, you can try and go up to 110. You might have the gut tolerance for it at that point. And so being open to taking in more fuel, but working your way up is an important process to go through.
And so what are the signs that so you had just mentioned, like she was coming off the bike and feeling hungry.
Yeah.
What are the signs that you should maybe try a bit more?
Yeah, and it's going to depend on the mode that you're taking in fuel, right? So if people are just using gels and chews and like wafflers or real food, it's going to be a lot of like consuming of things, and it's just a lot. Whereas if you are also supplementing with a good amount of carbs in your fluids, we tend to tolerate hydration mixes the best. So using a good chunk of your carbs coming in a hydration mix through your fluids, since you're already having to drink, and then supplementing with some gels and some other things to get you to that goal rate, is going to help with gut tolerance as well. So there's also that to consider. The things that it's hard to describe, but like you have almost like that little bit of like a low blood sugar feeling, or where you're like, oh, I feel like, it's hard. How do you describe it? Like where you're like a little bit of a fatigue, but like slight hunger, that athletes forget. And I'm like, oh, I think that's a sign that we might need to up your nutrition. You know what I mean? Or if they're finishing the workout and they're immediately starving, I'm like, oh, we need to definitely like up your nutrition. Like there's just like some signs that you just need to kind of be aware of and get a little curious of like, what is this? And like maybe adding a couple extra scoops of something to your bottles and seeing how that feels. That's the beauty of fueling your workout so well, is you can kind of figure out what's the best rate per hour to take, and then bringing that into your race, learning from your race, adjusting in training, racing again. Like that's part of the process of, it's a little bit of trial and error, but we have this science and data and structure to kind of guide us to where we should be.
Yeah. And so you had also mentioned, and then we'll get back to what you were going to say, but you'd also mentioned like the calorie deficit. And so people don't eat on the bike. And so the typical thing after that is then you're like overcompensate and you're like, because you're so hungry, then whatever, let's say you would have taken on 100 calories or 400 calories on the bike, but now you overcompensate and take on 800. And you also mentioned something interesting in that when we're working out, those calories are going directly to fueling the working muscles. But outside of that, like you're not using it, and it can get stored as fat, right? Like when you're overcompensating.
Like in that day to day?
Well, just like in the like few hours post workout or something like that. If you like eat 800 calories instead of the 400 you would have eaten on the bike. So
post workout, it's not like the minute you stop working out that your body stops needing these carbohydrates, right? Because now we're shifting into recovery. We need to reload glycogen stores and get those refilled so that you're ready for the next workout. I think that's something that a lot of athletes underestimate. If you go out for a really long ride on a Saturday, it's not like you like have a protein drink and a bagel and you're like recovered. It can take days when you do those really long, hard workouts to fully recover. And so you have to think of any opportunity post-ride as an opportunity to support recovery and try and increase, like speeding up that process, because usually we're going to be training the next day. And even if you do have a rest day, that doesn't mean you have to eat less because you're not exercising. It just means you have to be extra strategic to optimize that recovery even further so that you can go into the next day ready to rock that workout. I'll give an example. So for me, I train Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. I have a rest day Friday, and then Saturday's usually like a harder sweet spot, or sometimes it's a threshold or VO to max effort ride. And then Sunday's my long endurance ride. So for me, by Thursday, I'm pretty fatigued.
Right.
And so I'm like, all right, Friday, I don't have to work out, so I'm going to pay extra attention to my nutrition. I'm going to make sure I get a little extra protein at breakfast, make sure I have lunch on time and have it be a good sized meal, and then go into dinner, and make sure that looks great too. So I'm optimizing recovery throughout that whole day so that I can go into that hard workout on Saturday and have fresh legs. And then have that long ride on Sunday, again, feeling pretty good. So going in with that mindset, I'm not going into this restrictive mindset, but I am just being extra mindful about making sure I'm ready to go for Saturday so that I can continue to see myself progress fitness-wise on the bike.
Okay. So we talked about, and I'll just mention this real quick too. You talked about before the workout and like, don't go into it fasted. How soon or how far away before the workout do you recommend eating? And does it depend on, like, I feel like in like 2016 or something, there was the bigger idea was like flexible days based on what you're doing that day. And it's like some days train high carb, some days train low carb because we want your body to be a flex fuel engine. And then it went like there's a lot of fasted stuff and now it's like a lot of high carb. And so like, would you approach it differently depending on the workout for that day? And then, like I said, like how far out? Is it an hour before? Is it 2 or 3 hours before? What's that look like?
Well, it will depend. That's always the answer to every nutrition question. I mean, if you're getting up at 5 a.m. and riding, you're not going to get up an extra hour early to have a meal. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you're going to start your group long ride on a Saturday at 8 a.m., then yeah, you could get up at, 6:30, have a meal because you've got the time. So what I would do is consider what you have available for time and then adjust it based off of that. So if you have a little more time, you're going to have a meal. I would have it be more carb centric, definitely. You can certainly have moderate protein, like 20 grams of protein-ish, somewhere in there, and you keep it low fat because that fat is really going to slow down digestion. It's going to keep that food in your stomach for longer, and the object is to make sure most of it's cleared from your stomach before you start the bike. If you're going for a run, you definitely want to have mostly like a more emptier stomach, just because that jostling motion, people tend to get upset stomachs. But with the bike is the buffet. We typically tolerate things in our stomach a little bit better. And most of the times we're not like, going crazy right off the bat with our bike ride. Usually there's a little bit of a warm up involved. So the closer you get to start time, so let's say you're waking up, you've only got like 15 minutes before you need to be out on the bike and you need to take something in. That's where you want it to be a little bit more liquid based or something that's going to be a little bit more easy to digest. Think like applesauce pouches, graham crackers. Sometimes I'll do a yogurt pouch just to have a little bit of protein. I find if I just do straight sugar right away in the morning, my blood sugar just makes me feel like I'm dying a little bit. Like I just feel a little bit ill. So I like to have just a little bit of protein. I might drink some like Fairlife chocolate milk and then do some energy chews or like do a couple applesauce pouches since I have little kids. I've always got a pile of them in my pantry. Oatmeal, cereal, any of those like just carbish foods in the morning. You could do some toast with a little bit of peanut butter. Peanut butter usually is pretty well tolerated. Something to get some fresh energy in your blood. Like it just kind of jumpstart that metabolism, wakes you up, helps that have some fresh energy going through your bloodstream when you're starting that workout. Sometimes for me in the middle of the day, if I like am fitting in all of my work stuff and then all of a sudden I'm like, I got to get on the bike because I got to go pick up my kids from daycare or school. I will just take a gel right at the start because I didn't get a chance to have like a snack, a half an hour before I started. Not the ideal, but in those types of situations, it works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it definitely doesn't have to be perfect, but making sure that you're going into those workouts well fueled, it's just going to serve you really well.
And we kind of talked about like the purpose of the session or whatever. And so would you change that? Or is it just like, don't go into any workout fasted?
If it's, and sometimes I go based off of how I'm feeling too. Like if it's like an easy hour recovery ride, but I'm feeling a little hungry, it's not good to go into any workout, no matter how easy the effort is, hungry, right? Because you're just going to suffer during the workout. And that, like, riding your bike is supposed to be fun. So we don't want you just suffering because you're wanting to burn a little bit more body fat as energy kind of thing. That's, again, just going to end up biting you in the butt later on the day with hunger. So the one thing I have seen lately, in terms of conversations with some of my athletes, they're like, oh, like, yeah, it was a 2-hour workout, but it was all zone 2. It was easy, Alex. Like, I didn't need that much fuel. I'm like, you still used major muscles consistently for 120 minutes. I need you to fuel this workout with at least 60 grams of carb each hour. And they're like, really? I'm like, yes, at least, because again, I don't want you going into this massive deficit the rest of the day. I still want you getting a good workout. I'm guaranteed if you're underfueling this workout, that last half an hour is going to feel a little bit harder than it should, even though it's a zone 2 effort. Right. I want you to fuel the workout well and get into that habit because, again, there's gut tolerance, there's the rest of the day, like all of those things matter. And so, again, don't go in with this mindset of like, what's the least amount of fuel I can get away with? Think about like, how can I feel my best during this ride?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's such a important point. You'd mentioned before, like the death feeling where you like get that insulin spike or whatever, and you just feel like you're bonking and everything feels way harder than it should.
Yeah.
And that's exactly right. It's like, yeah, you're doing this zone 2 workout, but it feels like tempo or threshold in those last 30 minutes because like the power is the same or lower. Yeah. But the RPE is so much higher because you're not fueling it.
Yeah. Like it's just not a good feeling to have that. So to me, I'm like, no, I have this one athlete I can just think, I'm like, no, I need you to fuel this workout, even though it's zone 2 effort. And he's like, really? I'm like, yes. It's like, and especially because he's working on body composition, I was like, I have you at a calorie deficit the rest of the day. I can't have you going into the rest of the day in an additional calorie deficit.
Yeah. So let's talk a bit more about that. So we talked about on the bike. We talked about like before, during. afterwards you talked about it's important to replenish glycogen stores. It's important to have some protein, especially if you haven't eaten any protein within the last 3 to 4 hours or whatever. What does the rest of the day look like? And then if somebody is wanting to have an active calorie deficit, what is a safe, like air quote, safe calorie deficit? Because I'm coaching somebody right now that like wants 1,000 calories every day. And I'm like, I don't like that seems a little bit much.
That's not enough. Okay. So it's in terms of a calorie deficit, and we do things a little bit different. I will calculate, their like daily day-to-day needs. And I will do around like 300 to 500 calorie deficit. However, the calories and the carbohydrates they take on the bike or in their workouts, I don't count that towards their daily targets. I keep it separate.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I do it a little bit different than maybe some other sports dietitians do. And the reason why we shifted that a couple years is because, again, we had athletes who were trying to like meet their targets, their calorie targets, and they'd like skimp on their fueling around the workouts. And I'm like, I don't want you to do that. They're like, well, then I'm like at 120% of my calorie needs for the day. And I'm like, yeah, but you like did this big workout. So I'm like, let's just keep it separate. And that way we can focus on consistency in your day-to-day nutrition. And then we'll just fuel the workout according to like intensity and duration.
I love that.
And it works so well. And then also with that day-to-day nutrition, we can hone in on timing of things. I think that's honestly just as important as what they're eating. And number one thing is having front-loading nutrition in terms of having bigger breakfasts, bigger lunch, so then they can just have this like reasonably sized dinner, and then they don't even feel hungry in the evening because they've already like had all their nutrition that their body needs. Like hardly like even need a bedtime snack because their body's just satisfied. They're like, what is this? I haven't had like my evening ice cream or like those. I can think of this one athlete a couple years ago. He's like, if there's sweets on my kitchen counter, he goes, they are not safe. And then like we're a couple months into working together, he goes, I've had a box of Krispy Kreme donuts on my counter for the past 3 days and I have not felt the need to have any. He goes, what did you do to me? And I'm like, you're just really well fueled by the time you get home from work. And you just don't like, I don't know. And he's like, this is so different. And I go, it is. Like, it's amazing what happens when your body has gotten enough protein every day. It's gotten enough carbs. Like, you just don't feel hungry. Like, it's not like a dieting thing. It's just like the math is mathing because your body's good.
So let me ask you this, because this is like that describes me to a T, right? It's like, I typically have I eat the same things every day for breakfast and lunch, and it's pretty small. And then I'll go do a big ride or something. And then like you said, it's like I eat dinner, and right as soon as I eat dinner, it's like, I just want snacks. Yeah.
Do you work out in the afternoon?
No. And that's what I was going to ask you is so typically it's in the morning. And so it's like so much of my fueling strategy came from when I was a triathlete and like not wanting to run with food in my stomach. Mm-hmm. And so that's carried over where it's like, I know I'm going to do a bike workout at like 7 or 8 a.m. And so I don't want too much food in my stomach because I'm thinking like, and so I just wanted to ask how those things go hand in hand, where it's like, how do I have a bigger breakfast, but still do my hard bike ride at 8?
You could split up your breakfast. You could do half before the ride so that you don't have this large meal digesting while you're doing your ride. What time do you typically eat breakfast?
Yeah, I'm usually up at like, again, I'm such a creature of habit. So I'm usually up at like 5 or 6, and then I have my coffee, and then I eat. Like, I won't eat before coffee. I have to have my coffee first. Yeah. And so it's typically around like 7 or 8 is when I'm having breakfast. Okay. And so then do you ride right away after? No, I'll generally, depending on my day, like I might try to give an hour to like let things digest. Okay.
So again, you could have 15, 20 grams of protein, get a good amount of carbs in, and then go out on your ride. And then when you get done would be second breakfast. Yeah. And again, doing another at least 20, if not 30 grams of protein there so then you're at like 50 before you even have lunch. And And so, again, some carbs, maybe doing some micronutrients at that time, like doing some fruits and veggies, maybe doing like an omelet with like some vegetables in there. I'm like obsessed right now with a frittata and like doing those fire roasted vegetables from Costco. Like I always have it in my fridge because it's just so easy.
That's great.
And doing something like that. And if you're eating it like mid-morning, you could shift your lunch to be just a little bit later, like a 1:30. Then you don't necessarily, like you could have a light snack in the afternoon, or you could just have a bigger lunch at 1:32, and then you don't have to have that afternoon snack, and then you could just have dinner. I've had that for athletes where they just have to shift the timing around a little bit. But again, like then your lunch would be probably another 30, 40 grams of protein. So if you think about it now, you're at like 80, 90 grams. And then at dinner, you could have another 30, 40, and you'd probably be around, I mean, depending on your, what your protein needs are, that would be how you would get to your evening and be at your protein target and just feeling satisfied afterwards that you don't really need to dig into the sweets.
Yeah. And so a follow-up question on that, which is kind of similar, like let's say on a weekend, like this is pretty typical for athletes, go on a ride. Let's say it's at like 8 or 9 or 10. It's kind of cooler right now. So we're waiting till it gets warmer. And then you're out for a 4 or 5 hour ride. And so you kind of miss lunch when you're out on the bike. Yeah. And so like I'm notorious. I get back, I'm just not hungry. Like I just don't feel like eating. And so I'll wait until dinner.
Oh, then, Dave. No. Okay.
Go way off.
All right. Well, let's talk about that then. Okay. So what I would do is I would wake up at that like 7, 8 a.m. and I would have a pretty decent sized breakfast. Like I would have at least 40 grams of protein at breakfast. Good amount of carbs. Just like when I tell my athletes, I'm like, I want your meal to almost, when you look at it, being like, is this too much food? Like, but like borderline, like where you're questioning whether it's too much food. Because sometimes I look at my meals, I'm like, this is a lot of food. But I'm like full for like 3-4 hours. And that's really nice. You're grazing throughout the day. Let that digest, go out on your long ride. You're going to fuel the ride really, really well. It's pretty common to not feel hungry post-ride because exercise suppresses our appetite. I would drink some nutrition. Protein shake, protein recovery drink, something that's going to get you something. Because I do find that if people don't have something right away, that they're going to feel almost pretty ill a couple hours after they're done with their ride. Are you shaking your head here, Dave?
Oh yeah. Like I, that's me. Like,
yeah, you just
I'm notorious for it where it's like an hour or two later, I'm just like
non-negotiable,
and you
have
dizzy.
That post-workout something, whether it's like a core power with a banana, something within like 30, 45 minutes. It's going to kickstart the recovery process. You're not going to feel ill and like low energy 2 hours later. And then within 2 hours post-ride, you have to have a meal. Okay. So that's where you're going to have that later lunch.
But it's not lunchtime. What do I do about that?
We're going to be flexible thinkers here, Dave. This is the words I use to my kids. We're going to be flexible thinkers, and we're going to like fuel ourselves outside the box because you shifted your schedule, right?
Yeah.
And think of it as just a larger snack or something like that. But that way you're not going into dinner starving and like eating half your nutrition like before you even sit down for dinner because you're snacking while you're cooking dinner.
Right.
And then have that good sized dinner, nothing like crazy amounts. And then that should set you up to maybe need a light evening snack. You can certainly do like a Greek yogurt with some fruit. Already kind of have a planned snack if you need it for afterwards. And then go to bed and recover overnight.
Yeah.
But you have to be intentional about that daytime nutrition. I'm telling you, with the hundreds of athletes that we've worked with, when it's the number one thing that we work on with them is increasing how they're eating during the day. And it is a game changer in body composition, in recovery from their workouts. Their hunger is more regulated. Their energy is better throughout the day. They sleep better at night because their body is better recovered. Like it impacts so many aspects of their life. And the other thing, their cholesterol levels get better, their blood sugar levels get better because their body's not in this stressed state anymore. It's amazing. Like there's so many good things that happen when we fuel better during the day.
Well, and we just a little bit, right? But I can't imagine that my story is that unique. I'm sure that a lot of athletes deal with the same thing. And so
guaranteed people are listening going, oh my gosh, Dave, like you and I are doing the same thing.
Right. And we, like, as athletes, we always think about things in a vacuum, or like think about like today and like this hour. But it's like you've already mentioned a little bit where it's like, it's the bigger picture. It's like, how are you feeling day to day and hour to hour and like all these things. And so,
yeah, when you're training 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours a week, every opportunity that you take to eat is an opportunity to help yourself recover and get ready for the next workout. And when athletes are like, yeah, I'm doing all this training and I look at my body and it's not really reflecting all of the work that I'm putting into it, or they're having to take an extra rest day because this hard training plan that they're on, it's crushing them. And I'm like, we can fix that. Or if they're like, I'm yelling at my kids all day because I'm hangry, and then we get them eating better during the day, and they get to the end of the evening, they put their kids to bed on a Saturday night, and their spouse is like, you were really like good with the kids today. They're like, yeah, I didn't like yell at them at all. And like, that's like one of my favorite wins is when people can be like a more productive, happier human day in and day out. It's not even about like what FTP they can achieve or getting on a podium. It's just like having a better quality of life.
I love that. And yeah, it's like sometimes we lose sight of that. Like most of us are not getting paid to do this.
Yeah,
and yes, we want
supposed to be fun.
All these things,
this is supposed to be fun,
right? It's like it should enhance your life, right? And it should like you shouldn't be this like monster that's like just trying to get through the day.
Well, and I had someone the other day on Instagram who was like, someday I'm going to do your program. I'm like, okay, great. I'm like, we're here whenever you're ready. And he's like, but also like a new bike sounds really fun. I'm like, yeah, but what about the engine? Like, we got to make sure that engine is dialed in so you can get the most out of that fun bike. And they're like, that's true. It's like, so let's save that bike money for after you're a beast on it so that you can really like crush it.
Yeah. Save it for a reward for when you need that bike.
Yeah.
So let's kind of finish up on this. Like we've kind of talked about the entire day. Is there anything we missed as far as just general strategy for fueling our workouts in our days?
Yeah, I will add in this. When it comes to body composition changes, awareness is really important. And some people just aren't really fully aware and mindful about what they're eating. So, and instead of weighing yourself every single day and panicking when the weight like jumps up 2 pounds overnight, instead of panicking, I would get curious. Like, oh, well, I had a really big workout yesterday. I didn't eat quite as well. I'm probably just have a lot of inflammation and water retention from being underfueled, and I trained really hard yesterday. Maybe today I'm going to really hone in on having a good breakfast, lunch, and supporting that recovery and see how my weight readjusts tomorrow, instead of immediately thinking I need to eat less and I need to cut out all sugar out of my diet and I need to do some crash drastic change.
Yeah.
That's really important. And if you're really unsure about how much protein you're getting in your day or how many calories, do a little journaling. Okay.
Right.
And don't go in with this, like, I need to eat as little as possible. I want you to just use it as purely curiosity based of like, I'm going to calculate my weight in kilograms and I'm going to times that by 1.8 or maybe 1.5 because the range is like 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per kilo. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to journal everything that I eat for the day and see where I'm at. Am I way off? Am I like 30 grams of protein shy, or am I only 10 grams? Or am I way over? Do I need to be having that much protein? You know, like sometimes just having a little bit more understanding about what you're eating and what your patterns in the day look like can be really insightful. And starting there and making some small, simple changes in your day, nothing drastic. You don't have to like go through your fridge and freezer and pantry and toss out every single processed food that's in there, but maybe just saying, you know what, I'm going to add an extra serving of protein at my breakfast, or I'm going to add some vegetables to my day because I haven't had a vegetable in 4 days. Like just simple things that you can do consistently long-term. They're not going to be super sexy, exciting changes, but they're going to make a much bigger difference than doing a drastic change that only lasts 2 weeks long.
Well, and that's just it, right? It's like I talk about this in training all the time. Like it has to be sustainable, and it's like I would much rather you do your 8 hours consistently than have like your Herculean like 15-hour week and then miss a week or two of training. It's like, what can you do daily? And then, like you said, just like those. You said it earlier about being flexible with our thinking. And it's like, yes, like at your meals, it doesn't necessarily need to be vegetables but even if you like snack on vegetables throughout the day, now you've added something that you didn't have before in your,
Sometimes when I'm cooking for my kids, I'll get out like a bag of carrots and just like a little bit of like dill ranch dip, and I'll just eat some carrots while I'm cooking. And then I'm like, well, okay, my vegetables are like checked off my list for dinner, and I'll just, have something else with my family. So, I serve my kids vegetables, but they don't really eat them. So like we're working on it. My middle child just started eating tacos, and I'm like so excited about it. It's like,
oh, I love it.
Like the little wins where I'm just like, oh my God, I have another meal that he will eat. Thank God. So yeah, those are like some of the little things that I'll do just to like sneak in some vegetables or sneak in some protein, or like that frittata that I have in my fridge. Like I'll eat that cold. Like I literally just like run upstairs if I have like 5 minutes to eat between things, is I'll grab some of that frittata and I'm like, okay, protein, vegetables. I'm going to grab myself some leftover rice, heat that up. And then I'm like, okay, got my 3 things I need at a meal and I'm out the door kind of thing.
So that brings up another good point, is like, I'm very guilty, and I'm sure other people are too. It's like convenience foods. Yeah. Right. It's like my kids are all grown at this point, but people with younger kids, it's like you're driving them to practice, you're picking up, like you're doing these things. And it's like, what can I grab through a drive-through and eat with one hand in between? And so what are some of the strategies you give people to deal with that so that they're not making quote unquote bad decisions between meetings?
I try to be proactive versus reactive, right? Yeah. So, most of us typically have an idea of what our schedule is going to look like. Like I can look at my day and being like, all right, here's my one opportunity to get my workout in. Here's my one opportunity to eat my lunch. I have to take that, and I can't get distracted by all of the other things in my brain going on. Like it's got to be, and I block off in my calendar lunch. Like it literally pops up on my phone and on my computer to remind myself, because my attention span is about 5 seconds long. And so that's really important to have those things blocked off in your calendar if you're one to just like put it off, right?
Yeah.
And it's a habit that you have to build. Like this is, so many people are like, oh, like my nutrition's not great. I need more information. I need to find that one bit of information that's going to help make that difference. And I'm like, no, it's about the implementation. You need to practice the implementation. You don't need more information. So let's just practice. It's not that you're having to do this every single day and be perfect every single time, but let's just practice eating lunch or eating breakfast. I got one athlete who's like, I'm not hungry in the morning. I don't eat breakfast. And I'm like, okay, what if you just drank one of those like strawberry banana core powers that they really liked at breakfast? And like, okay, well, I could drink that. I'm like, I want you to drink it before, like, I'm like, what time do you wake up? Okay, I want it gone before 8 a.m. Like we set a goal. And every single day they would have that core power. And a couple weeks later, I'm like, what if we added like a piece of toast with that? Yeah. And they're like, okay, yeah, I could do a piece of toast with it. I'm starting to actually get a little bit hungry in the morning now. I'm like, perfect. They added a piece of toast. And then we went to 2 pieces of toast. And then we added some fruit. And now they're having this like substantial breakfast. But it took us a few months to build that practice. We started with the easiest thing possible, where I'm like, we're going to hit the easy button and get you 26 grams of protein with this core power beverage that tastes delicious. And then we're going to add in a piece of toast. You can, that takes 2 minutes.
Right.
And then added 2 pieces of toast, and then added some fruit. Like, it just was a gradual thing. And so we practiced the implementation. We didn't strive for perfection right off the bat, and we built that skill up for them.
Well, and that's, again, going, like, it's such a common thing where it's like we get overwhelmed because we're always looking at how far we have to go. And so it's like we have this perfect plan laid out in front of us, and like, I need to do this, 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 and this. And then it's like, you don't do any of it, and you're like, I'm a failure, and you don't. But it's like, you just do one. Just pick one. And that's better than what you were doing last week. And build on that. I love that.
I have another gal who's a student, a college student, and she, like, her breakfast, like, she'd have breakfast, but I was like, oh, I really want you to get like another 20 grams of protein. And like, no matter how we practice it, she wasn't doing it. I'm like, okay, can you just have your protein shake with your breakfast? And I was like, and then she, like, her protein got up to like 40, 45, 50 grams, depending on what she was eating for food. And she's like, oh my gosh, I don't feel hungry until like noon, 12:30. And it's like lunchtime, and that's when I've opened in my schedule to have lunch, and I'm actually like hungry. I don't have a snack all my morning because I'm like satisfied and I'm focused, at school. And I'm like, great. Like, that protein shake is not like a meal replacer. It's in addition to her meal. And so we just found what worked really well for her to kickstart her day and get ahead of her nutrition and have a really great, rest of the day in terms of energy and focus.
I love it.
Yeah.
And so what are some of the other classic signs that you're not eating enough? And then, I guess, like, what are some of the things you would tell people, like 2 to 3 things, like, if you could only do 2 to 3 things, these are the things I'd focus on?
Well, I feel like the number one signs would either be intense hunger later on in the day. Sweets cravings would be a clear-cut sign. If your workouts are not progressing, like if you're not seeing yourself like get stronger and seeing yourself improve, if you are struggling to recover and having to take extra rest days, if you're getting injured or getting sick all the time. I say that because I have a little bit of a cold right now, but I haven't been sick in like I can't remember the last time I had a cold. So finally, my kids got me with whatever bugs they come home with.
Always.
I would say just low energy, like chronic fatigue would be one where like, people are just like, I'm so tired of feeling tired all the time, or moody, or poor sleep. Like, those are going to be like the number one like things. And a lot of those I think are normalized in endurance sports, where it's like, oh yeah, I'm hungry all the time. I'm doing all this training, or yeah, I'm tired. Like, I got up and I biked this morning, so I'm exhausted. That shouldn't be the norm.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, no, when we train and we optimize nutrition, you still should be able to like get through the day and feel pretty decent. So those are the things that I would say would be little red flags that can end up being a big red flag later on when you've got like just chronic underfueling, like REDS symptoms going on. And then in terms of like the little things that 2 or 3 things that you could do, I feel like I've discussed a lot of them, so let's recap. So one would be front loading your day-to-day nutrition, bigger breakfast, bigger lunch. If you have to hit the easy button with some different convenience foods, go about and do that, because that's going to at least get you started with the implementation. And then you can start getting a little bit more creative with some different things, like maybe trying some different things that you can meal prep in advance. Like I said, my frittata that I'm obsessed with, I make that every few days, and then I just eat leftovers.
Are you getting paid by the frittata people?
I mean, like, I feel like Costco should sponsor me, because I'm constantly talking about their rotisserie chickens and their frozen veggies on my podcast. So like finding the healthier convenience foods that help you meet your needs and get you the nutrition that you need, that's really important. And then fueling the workouts really well, going in with the right mindset of like, no, how can I optimize this, and not how can I get away with as little as possible kind of situation.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I think we covered a lot, but I think there's a lot of good takeaways here, and I think a lot of people will hear themselves in what we talked about.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
Yes. On social channels, I'm at Alex Larson Nutrition, and my website is alexlarsonnutrition.com. And then I think we already mentioned I have a podcast. It's now we're a year in, a little over a year, and it's called Endurance Eats, and it's focused on 100% endurance nutrition fueling. So my team and I often will get together and talk. It's probably one of people's favorite episodes is my dietitian team and I are we have a good time. We'll just say that we love food and we don't take ourselves too seriously. So we have some pretty good conversations about how we go about coaching our athletes and how we go about fueling our own endurance endeavors.
All right, so if there was one episode that and I know this is coming out of left field, so you might not be prepared. So like if there was one episode you'd recommend people go listen to, which one would it be? And I'll put that in the show notes.
The most popular one is the creatine episode because creatine is like on everyone's mind.
Absolutely.
That one is by far the most listened to. I want to say it's like episode 24 where Hannah, Mary, and I talk about body composition. That one also is very well listened to and was enjoyed. And then the protein episode was also good too.
Perfect.
We just have a whole episode.
All three of those in there.
It's literally called the protein episode because that's what we talked about.
I love it. Well, thank you very much for your time. I'm glad we got a chance to do this again.
Yeah, me too. This was so fun. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.